Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to my deep guide, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the present and the future of Note Max. Note Max, as you can see, is my daily driver, and Note Max has been a daily driver for me since the first week of January, or early, maybe second week of January, when I received it in 2025. So a little over a year. I have been using it genuinely pretty much every single day as my main driver, and it has replaced 95% of my ePaper needs. I've made several videos on this device, as usual, you know, the unboxing, the review and things like that, but I've also made a video where I state my case why this is the best device that has been released as far as ePaper devices go for me, and why I think that it's really particularly well suited for certain types of works. You can check out those videos and you can see, yeah, what I make as a case here. However, I never stated that the Note Max is without faults. On the contrary, it does have several faults. One of the biggest faults was always, there's two. One is that it's a darker screen than what you normally would associate with. For example, its predecessor, I think it was called Tab X. Even without front light, it had a much brighter screen, but it was a 207 ppi screen. This is a 300 ppi screen. But that is a negligible thing compared to Note Max's biggest failing, and that is its ghosting issues. And you can actually quite clearly see the ghosting issues. If I go to a particularly busy page and let's navigate back to here, well, now it deghosted quite well. Let's try and force it into a bad, there we go. So now you can see some deghosting issues here from the back. But for me personally, that's not such a big problem because I can just always, I've mapped the refresh back here. And since I use it every single day, that simple refresh, because it works very reliably and it just works, it's not such a big deal, but I do absolutely acknowledge that it would be a big deal for somebody who may be particularly incensed about this kind of thing. So, not a perfect device, but damn good one for quite a few specific use cases. I also made a video where I demonstrated that the lack of deghosting is not actually the panel's fault, because as I've already demonstrated here, full screen refresh is absolutely possible, but the software simply isn't doing it correctly for some reason on Note Max. So it's a software thing, not a hardware thing. So there was always hope with me and other Note Max users that a coming update would resolve this issue. Unfortunately, none of the updates actually addressed the ghosting issue. And then we get to the last update, the third one, where it receives the update 4.1. I am not going to update my Note Max to Boox OS 4.1 because I've talked about this quite a lot. Boox OS 4.1 is a terrible, terrible system that destroys otherwise perfectly usable devices. Unfortunately, new Boox devices come out the box with that, so if you are to buy a new device, you don't even have a chance to experience how it used to be not so crap as it is right now. That made me kind of realize, all right, so this is it. This is what I got. I won't be updating my Note Max further. It has been artificially limited to what it is, where it is, and what it does. And then I had to kind of consider, what does that mean for me personally? And yeah, what does that mean for other people as well? Before I continue with that discussion, I just want to bring you a perspective of a user who made a comment about upgrading their Note Max to 4.1. Thank you for the video. I have upgraded to Note Max firmware 4.1.1 and I deeply regret it. The swipe gesture for turning pages in the Notes app has now become inconsistent, which really ruins my workflow. And the erase function has been tampered with in an abominable way. They have improved the latency of the erase function, but this part is good. But this comes at a heavy price. Whenever you erase something, the screen switches to high contrast mode, and then after a few seconds it switches back to normal. So in the process of writing, the screen constantly darkens and lightens. And even if you chose to alter the settings for the Notes app to make it always be in the high contrast mode, which I don't like visually, it wouldn't work either, because even then it switches back to normal mode after a while. One cannot even begin to describe how unprofessional this behavior from Boox is. Since the update, I have effectively gravitated towards my Samsung tablet for taking notes, because the once beloved Note Max is now such a pain and disappointment to use. That is the point that I'm trying to make, and that is what I'm desperately trying to avoid to happen to my also currently still beloved Note Max, and a device that I genuinely use on and rely on a 365 day per year basis. It is absolutely a real thing to be very, very cautious about whether you want to update or not to OS 4.1, because it's that bad. It can ruin the device completely for your work case scenario. Then last week I received an email from a long-term viewer who said, hey, I have it on my knowledge that Note Max is soon going to be discontinued. I replied in my playful manner, as I normally do, which is like, hey, thanks for kind of sharing it to me. I've checked my stuff, so I went to Amazon.com, Amazon.de, Amazon UK, Amazon France, like all of the Amazons I could. I saw that Note Max is still available for sale and in stock. I checked local resellers here in Norway, and all of them who stock Note Max, all of them have it, and all of them still sell it. And then I checked the Boox store as well, and it also has it. The only indication where I saw maybe that something could be kind of construed as such is that it said limited stock. So, okay, fine. But I jokingly said in my response that I leave the predictions of what may be for those who are really good at divinations with Madame Trelawney or Sybil Trelawney. Unfortunately, the person, maybe it's the written communication or something, they thought that I was being snarky and stuff, which is kind of sad because, you know, it's important to have fun. And that person kind of mentioned that they have it among their knowledge that Note Max is going to be discontinued maybe in the following couple of weeks. So I started thinking like, okay, I don't report on maybes and ifs and buts. So this is not me making a video, oh, Note Max is going to be discontinued. Okay, so is it about to get discontinued? I don't know. But if it does it matter? Well, it matters because it's only a year-old device. If it gets discontinued, is that something new for Boox? No, it's not. I'm not saying it's a good thing. If it does get discontinued though, it's going to be a surprising thing because Tab X remained in sale for a very, very, very long time, several years. And discontinuing Note Max after only 1 year, that would suck. It's still a damn awesome device and an exceptionally good value for money, considering what you actually get for that price, provided you don't update it to the OS 4.1. If it does get discontinued, I think that it's going to be genuinely sad news, because I think that this device still has plenty to offer despite its limitations. Myself and others included have been able to actually gravitate towards this device, so much so that it has been voted by you guys as the best device of the year. You guys voted for it. So then that turned my thinking into direction of designed obsolescence and perceived obsolescence. Two kind of very different things, right? So the design obsolescence, we know what it is, and Boox is pretty much the most guilty party there is as far as the designed obsolescence goes, because that's basically their modus operandi. That's how they work most of the time. However, it would be unusual if Note Max got discontinued, because occasionally they do get things right and they do get to have a good sense of, hey, we got this right, this is a good thing, so we're going to keep producing it, and then they keep producing it. But I also get things wrong. For example, Note Air 1 was a fantastic device, which was replaced by Note Air 2, which was a dreadful device, and they had the design obsolescence there. Usually, their design obsolescence is to release a year after a replacement model that just makes the other one obsolete. That's their modus operandi. If Note Max actually does get to be forced into obsolescence from Boox itself, hardware-wise, that you're no longer able to buy it, to me that would be an indication of actually something else, and that would be probably indication that there are difficulties of obtaining these 13-inch 300 ppi panels that are non-front lit from e-ink. This, from my side, is complete kind of guess, and that's just my thinking out loud kind of thing. I have no sources on this, I have no information on it. This is just me simply thinking out loud and sharing with you my thoughts. Now, what about perceived obsolescence? Well, perceived obsolescence would be something like, for example, I'm no longer able to update, or it's not in my interest to update this device to the latest version of the software, therefore that makes it obsolete. I read those types of comments as well. And this is a point with which I strongly disagree. I'm going to talk from my perspective here. What is my reality with this device in its current state? This OS, everything. I've been able to use this 365 days previous year, or close to 365 days previous year, multiple hours a day, had zero issues with this device and with the platform. It has bugs, you find a workaround them, and it's fine. It's not a deal breaker of any sort. It does the job so well that it has become my daily driver and it has replaced 95% of my ePaper needs. The fact that I can't update to 4.1.1, or that I don't want to because of the issues that I before mentioned, because they introduced this kind of thing, and I have this perceived obsolescence that I'm already at the ceiling after just 1 year of use, does that affect me really, other than on a perceived level that, oh no, I can't update? How does that actually affect me? Am I missing anything from it? Me personally, aside from the ghosting thing, which is just a nice to have because this swipe thing just works for me and my workflow, I don't really have a problem with it. Would 4.1.1 address any of the issues? No. People are reporting same or even worse ghosting. In most cases, one person reported better ghosting, but that was just one person. Everybody else was saying like, actually, no, it's much worse than it was before. So other than the fact that I have this artificially imposed ceiling for the platform, which genuinely sucks, you shouldn't have to deal with that only a year after purchasing a flagship device, basically, that they have here. Does it affect me? No, I'm still using it. I'm still actually using it to write about this notes for this video, about all of this. And I have no intentions of actually changing this device in any way, shape, or form. I've locked it out so that it never even accidentally updates or anything like that, that it just stays the way it is, because it has managed to do something that I've been looking for a very, 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 very long time from all of these devices. So as such, it's incredibly valuable to me and my workflow. So that's my perception of this designed and perceived obsolescence of Note Max, which is a very real thing, and it might affect you in a very real way. From my perspective, I've told you why it doesn't affect me, or it affects me very, very minimally. So the last 2 points, what will I do? Well, you've already inferred from me talking about it, I will not change a thing on my Note Max, and I intend to work it to the ground. As long as it works and it doesn't start falling apart and getting completely broken, I intend to use it because it does everything that I need it to do, and does it extremely well, as it has done for the entire past year. I only had to make a mental adjustment of simply no longer hoping or looking forward to the potential of improving the ghosting issues. So that needed like a simple mental adjustment. It took a small period of time to do that mental adjustment. But now that I'm there, I actually feel a lot better, because I don't have the anxiety of, okay, maybe they'll fix the ghosting, but what will happen with the other stuff? in many ways, them imposing this artificial ceiling to the Note Max makes it so much more comfortable to use it, because it's like an old friend at this point, and I know, what are its strengths, what are its weaknesses, and things like that, and we get along just fine. And the final question then is, can I still recommend a Note Max? Well, that's a damn good question, and that's a damn hard question. That's a difficult one, because I can't pretend that I'm just talking to you as somebody else in my room or in a cafe and we're talking about that kind of stuff. I have to take into consideration the weight of the words that I do say here and as a recommendation and things like that. The best way that I can put it is this: if what you see right now and what you've seen so far from the Note Max is already showing you this is exactly what I need, and I don't need or want anything else from the device and from the platform at all, then it's definitely a device that I can recommend for people to buy. But they have to be aware of that you're buying a device that is artificially capped, because you should not under any circumstances update to 4.11. You need to stay at the update 4.0. That's where it needs to stay. And if you're comfortable with the potential that maybe like weeks or months after you purchase the device, it gets discontinued, and that doesn't give you FOMO or anything like that, that you're emotionally kind of grounded in this purchasing decision strongly enough that it doesn't really matter, that you're buying the device for the device, not for whatever other reasons there may be, then yes. So only if you satisfy those two conditions, then I can still recommend Note Max, and I think that it's still going to tick all of the boxes that I've talked about before, because it still does. Like, there's no question about it. It hasn't changed unless you update it to that dreadful kind of update. That won't change. If, however, you're just looking for something, and if you're honest with yourself, and that you're maybe a type of person who likes to have the latest and the greatest, and that it matters to them that they have the latest update, that they have this and that and blah, 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 then absolutely not. Then this is not a device for you. And it's very questionable if Boox is the platform for you at all, because of that previously mentioned designed obsolescence of their business model. That's the best way that I can actually address what is going on with Note Max, where it is right now, and what are my thoughts, opinions, and views on the Note Max itself. So that's where I stand at. Where are you at, and what are your opinions and thoughts regarding the Note Max, designed obsolescence, perceived obsolescence? Would you be able to, if you're a Note Max user, would you recommend Note Max to somebody else? If you would it be a carte blanche, or would it be with some caveats? If there's caveats, do let me know what they are, so that we can actually have an extended discussion and multiple perspectives to something like this, which is a very, very complicated, in my opinion at least, and in my view, it's a complex kind of a situation, because it's a genuinely good device that doesn't actually have a replacement on the market that you can find to offer as an alternative. That's the biggest problem here. So I'm very interested to hear your opinion and your view on this topic. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye. Yes, Sony and its overheating camera. It does like a great, it's a great camera, but it overheats quite easily. So I have to use cool packs, put them in there, which I typically use for my injured shoulder and nerves, and actually apply it to the body of the camera to cool it down, so that I can go through a recording session of several videos. 2026, man.